Yeah.
10.
Nice. But this one in particular, I think, is the hardest to call, not because of their respective skills, but just because of their mental positions in the group. So let's get into game number one. In the top right, as the blue Protoss, he is Drogo.
And down over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have our red Protoss player. He is SKillous. Did I tell you, Zombie Grove, I ordered a cowbell on Amazon?
You did, actually, yes.
Oh,
I thought you were
yeah,
going to surprise us with it.
Yeah. I got really impatient. I get really excited when I have new toys, and this is quite literally a toy, so.
It's a musical instrument, excuse you. Is a violin a toy?
Not the one that I got. Pretty sure mine is a toy.
Is it gonna have like a little? Is it like a little kid's cowbell that is a picture of a cute cow?
It's actually like a proper cowbell and everything.
Oh, okay.
It's like a solid black cowbell, and it has like a. I don't know what the screw at the top does, but there's like a screw at the top. I'll show it to you later.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure an actual cowbell isn't really that kid friendly. It's like pure metal. It can like drop on your foot and like hurt you. Anyways.
What level of confidence do you have in my like dexterity abilities? I'm gonna just drop it on my foot.
Oh, I think you're fine, but you said literally a toy, and I always I imagine a kid's toy. But anyways.
Okay, that's fair. Well, you know what's definitely not a kid's toy is Protoss versus Protoss, because this is a brutal killer matchup where absolutely anything can happen, and absolutely anything does happen sometimes that can just kill you outright. So it's something that Protoss players have definitely gotten better at handling, though, right?
I appreciate your segue, but honestly, if I was to accuse one matchup of being kind of kiddish, it might be the ones that's all freaking laser beams. Pew, pew, pew! Rawr! Pew, pew! Like it's lasers. Anyways, we got a proxy pylon coming in. Double stalker to double stalker. Drogo could actually use this proxy pylon to actually warp in. It's a little more in SKillous's face, so I think that is the intention, but SKillous is checking around for it. Ooh. Really nicely done, too, because he might have been tempted to check around towards the extremities of the map just to scout for, a proxy Stargate or something, but this one right in front of him could have warped in Stalkers.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's kind of funny is that the Stalkers are going to try and move out over here for skills, but they're splitting up to also go after the probe. So funny enough, if this one Stalker chases that probe a little bit too far out to the right-hand side, the two Stalkers for Drogo are going to arrive to defend the pylon and should be able to keep it alive. And there you see, pylon barely loses anything beyond the shields.
That's an interesting choice from SKillous. I want to say it's straight up. I mean, I guess it's probably what he's probably thinking, right? Is that Drogo's not going to commit to the warpanes now that it's been kind of figured out. So he just knows that he has two more Stalkers on the way and is totally fine. And that's exactly what happened. So he wanted to make sure that maybe there wasn't some double down on weirdness by chasing the probe. That's what I imagine anyways.
Zombie Grove? I'm getting a tiny bit worried because Drogo skipped out on 3rd and 4th gateway units. He's in favor of the Stargate. His shield batteries is going to be finished up at the natural soon, and he went for a faster nexus, but he also had to invest into the pylon and everything. Now we have 6 Stalkers out on the map and a warp prism being made right now. The Oracle's not across the map. In fact, it actually gets caught, loses its shields, and now is the shield battery actually going to last long enough for the nexus to finish up for a shield battery overcharge? I'm actually a little worried that these Stalkers just die.
I'm not sure it will. Drogo skipped a lot. He even skipped a couple of warp-in to do what he's done. And it's not really paid off so far. He only has 4 Stalkers to an increasing number from SKillous. Shield battery already out of juice, and there it is. The Nexus finishes, but the Stalkers have had to run back home. He made a second Oracle as well, which increases his chances that he can get damage done on the side of the map, which he's already doing at least a little bit. Not too much, but the Oracle does live. But that means he wasn't making a Void Ray, something that would help him right here, right now in the defense.
Yeah, this gets really scary now that the warp prism's here as well, and we have 3 gateways warping in versus just the 2 for Drogo. Drogo's building more shield batteries up at the high ground. He's really hoping that I think that stasis trap is going to be able to catch quite a bit, and he might be right if SKillous decides to push his luck after actually knocking out this Nexus, which, I mean, given you have a warp prism, I think there's a good chance of it. Oh?
Ooh. Might have wanted to try and micro that one out. That would have been cool, but still only 1 Stalker being locked in is totally fine for SKillous, who is defending the double Oracle, totally fine back at home. Well, being able to warp in Stalkers defensively, as well as still actually kill the Nexus and do your attack is just the best position that SKillous can find himself in.
Yeah, this is getting really weird, Zombie Grub, because if that warp gate goes down, normally it's not like the biggest deal in the world if you lose like a gateway or wall in. There's only one warp gate left now for Drogo, and he's not making anything out of his Stargate. He now starts up his second gateway, but I'm just worried he's going to start getting outproduced over here.
I do think that Drogo maybe has, recognized and gambled, right? That he's not going to be killed right now. The 2 shield batteries in the high ground is too much. And the stalker numbers, while definitely not even, probably are compensated by those shield batteries. So he's already invested into Blink, something that was not going to help him anytime soon. But once he has it, is an absolute benefit. And he can even chase down SKillous if SKillous weren't to figure this out too quickly. Now, SKillous does have an observer getting into the main base. It's going to just siege up because nothing's there to stop it. And it's going to see that that is Blink, no doubt about it. And this might just alert SKillous that he has to run back home, but then you have Drogo one base all inning with Blink Stalkers. SKillous is then on the defense. We have a reverse situation, but one where SKillous probably can buy enough time for his own Blink too.
Yeah, I think that's going to actually be a key thing over here as Blink does start up, like you mentioned. The Nexus at the natural does become an interesting situation here because that does mean SKillous has to defend both his high ground location and also the low ground natural. So he's going to have to invest in the shield batteries on both sides potentially, or just ensure that there's in fact no Blink up to the high ground somehow. The Warp Prism is going to try and buy some time, and this is actually hitting at the perfect time. It's a great identification from SKillous. And pretty much the most logical play here from Drogo is, yeah, move out with your Stalkers now. So the Warp Prism might have an open opportunity.
Yes, it does. Drogo does not have any Stalkers left back at home officially at this point. Oh, the sentries do get found out. Oh, he really wants those sentries. Blinking like that was a very aggressive maneuver that might not have worked out. And the Stalker numbers might be okay for Drogo, but he's also taking damage back at home because the 2 Adepts, they take so long to clear up. They are not being microed right now is the only thing going well for Drogo, it feels like. But there's the micro, there's the pickup. And now an Immortal is out for SKillous to defend his natural.
Yeah, the most notable thing about those 2 Adepts is that they didn't kill a lot of workers, but they delayed mining entirely for a long period of time. So the additional round of warp-ins for Drogo is going to get delayed, which means that SKillous is going to climb even further ahead in that Stalker count. He's sitting at 12 to 11, but he also has his Warp Prism. Oh, the snipe off on the pylon might be really nice over here. Does depower 2 of the warp gates, but I think that SKillous with the robot, I think he's probably fine just saying, yeah, I'm going to invest in getting more Immortals, but he blinks down to the low ground and feels like he has overwhelming numbers, and quite frankly, Zombie Grub, he does.
Yeah, he was right about that. Drogo might not have been expecting it. He would have been able to run away faster and use that stasis trap, which is very effective when it finally comes in. But Drogo, I think he just went back to micro something against the Adepts' as Oracle, and so he didn't really get to take advantage of it. He still leaves with a lot less Stalkers than his opponent. What is kind of neat about this game, at the very least, is that Drogo has managed to carve himself out an economy lead. For a while at this point, actually. He's been up a few workers just with a little bit of zaps the Oracle's been able to do. So that is temporary, like, good news, but not enough to make up for the rest of the bad news that Drogo's already experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like he's really going to need to rely on another one of these stasis traps, just hitting on a bunch of SKillous' Stalkers. And, I mean, he's planting 1 or 2 of them down, but there's the Observer there. So how much are you really going to be able to get done? Look at that, a beautiful blink forward with a weakened Stalker as well, and gets it in to trigger the stasis trap. There's nothing to fear over here. There's not even a pylon finished up, but finally a pylon finished up, but there's no shield batteries. Immortal gets taken out, but there is just not enough there for Drogo. SKillous goes up 1-0.
SKillous just got the better beginning, really. Going for the attack there, I don't think Drogo was really thinking about it. He was probably thinking about adapting to the fact that his little pylon play wasn't at all a surprise. It was figured out really early. Whether he was really going to use it or not was maybe in question, but he still kind of had to adapt. And SKillous was more brute force, and that was totally warranted. We saw it work out beautifully. And then SKillous just got an observer on top of Drogo's base and knew 100% every situation he was in, which is not supposed to happen in PvP. There's supposed to be a little bit of doubt. But even if SKillous didn't have that observer, he was still in a fantastic position.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the corners and stuff that Drogo was cutting in order to go for that sort of build. And he went for like that fast Stargate play and everything, but only getting 2 gateway units out and also getting up the Nexus and also having the pylon that ends up getting just picked off, that really becomes a bit too much. And I think it's going back to a little bit what you're saying. I wonder if Drogo was trying to play around the idea of like a double adept opening or like a stalker sentry opening or something like that, and just 6 stalkers was absolutely not what he was thinking was going to be happening.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was just hoping that SKillous would have gone for a Nexus after 2 or 4 stalkers, but instead it was super dedicated. And that is, I guess, the complications of the opening units in PvP. I feel like I'd have to break down every single set of units to really talk about and describe what's going on, which might take a little while. But yeah, if Drogo had gone for 2 Adepts first, then he's getting a bit more scouting. If he had gone for Stalker Sentry, then he's getting a lot of scouting, but he's definitely not doing any pressure on the front lines. If he went Stalker, Sentry, again, not doing that much pressure on the front lines, although maybe he could have kind of bluffed it with the pylon. But I think even then, it was kind of, I really hope this in-your-face pylon is not found out, especially as quickly as it was.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's a lot of things that can evolve from the opening of the units. And in that case, in that last game, what mostly came out of it was that Drogo got no scouting and SKillous was going for a big attack.
All right, well, we're heading into game number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and we are starting over here in the top left-hand side of the map, atop the blue Protoss player. He is Team Alter's Drogo.
In the bottom right is the red Protoss. He is SKillous.
All right. Well, Zombie Grub, I have to say this was already a pretty rough spot for Drogo in the groups and everything. And I'm not a number cruncher like of the highest skill level by any means, but I have to imagine that every single map win is really going to matter for Drogo's chances to make it out, because he was sitting 8th in the group right now. And given that this is the second last day of group stage play, I have to imagine even dropping that last map might have put him in a very, very tough spot for advancing out of the group now.
Yeah, 100% I'm going to wait for someone smarter than me to confirm the actual situation, but every map is absolutely going to count, and I feel like Drogo had to hope for other things going poorly. But I guess, for instance, probably hoping that Raynor would do what we'd expect and maybe 2-0 Strange, because Strange is also still fighting for maybe that top 4. And actually, what's happening on the stream, the B stream, is that Raynor and Strange are currently tied 1-1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a surprising result just in and of itself. But again, thinking about the overall group math might also be something that Drogo had to hope wasn't going to happen. I'm not 100% sure about this, but just, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a good day for Drogo.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is pretty cool, and it's kind of funny as we do start to see some funny openings over here, or some of the openings shaping up with the double adept versus double stalker opening and stuff. But it is kind of funny and worth noting that Raynor has dropped, like, he's had a perfect run in terms of series score, but he has actually dropped maps to, like, I want to say almost half of his opponents so far. So not looking necessarily as indomitable as maybe like a Cyril or something who hasn't dropped a map yet.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Raynor's lost a couple of maps, the ZVZs specifically so far. Now it's EVP. All right, but all right. So we got Drogo open up with 2 Adepts. That is going to give him a bit more scouting, yes, but then he follows up with 2 more Adepts, and I got to figure 2 more Adepts after that. So really, it's a lot more about the pressure that this is going to apply. So it does get scouting, sure, but not nearly as easy or defensive macro as, say, Stalker Sentry, which gets an hallucination. This is going to try and do some damage. Now, you reveal the 4 Adepts to SKillous to take out the pylon, because you want the Nexus eventually. There it is. That is usually, SKillous is also picking up what Drogo's putting down, which is that it's not, it can be 2 Adepts and then into Stalkers or into Sentries. That'd be kind of weird, but still. But if it's 4, it's almost always 6 and then 8. So I feel like SKillous already kind of knows what to be wary of, and now it's all about his ability to control the situation. Because Drogo's just going to throw bodies at him.
Yeah, and one of the really tricky things about this kind of situation is that the Adepts are actually in high enough numbers now that if you can't just say, like, I built the shield battery to prevent you from getting into the main base. You still need to do something like that. But the shield battery can actually get target fired down by 8 Adepts. And they will churn through the hit points on that shield battery pretty quickly. So you have to be pretty cautious about how you handle this. Adepts are going to shade on forward, see that there's no workers in the natural just yet, but just 2 stalkers alone, not quite enough to really threaten this. I'm just really wondering if Drogo actually lets any of these Adepts Shades finish.
I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, you're absolutely right about the high ground pylon or shield battery, whichever, that the Adepts could tear that down. But now that it's 4 Stalkers up, you know, it's still not going to kill many Adepts quickly. You don't know what else is coming out of this. Well, now he knows, actually. The Oracle flew into the main. Oh, he missed the block. Well, that's exactly what Drogo was hoping for. And that is a lot of Adepts in the probe line. Oracle does have to pop the Pulsar Beam just to help out here. But, it's not being targeted correctly. That was actually a big missed opportunity from Drogo's Adepts. They targeted a Stalker.
Yeah, that's going to be a few missed potential kills over there. He does get out of there with, what, 3 of these Adepts, but the Oracle is actually given chase to see where exactly those Adepts land. One Oracle has enough energy to start target firing down the weakened Adepts, is going to be able to snag 2 of them, potentially the last one, but I think the Oracle will just barely start to run out of energy. Last hit. 3 energy left over, gets the final kill. At the end of the day, is that going to be enough damage given how many Adepts he lost?
I mean, it is a lot of lost Adepts, but honestly, that is probably enough, because it's not even just that it was 7 probe kills. It looks like Drogo was just hammering away in the chronos, perhaps, of his probes, because he's up 12 workers. Like that is really nice. Now, the Oracles of SKillous do have the potential to, over time, make up for that damage done, or get the same amount of damage done, rather, but, over time and later is a lot less effective. So I'd say that Drogo, as long as he doesn't severely miss up against the Oracles, and this is not bad, only 3 going down, I'd say that, it was absolutely worth the loss of the units, and that's even better. Grabs the Oracles, so not even a chance for SKillous to make up for the kills.
That is pretty brutal, because remember that he went for SKillous ended up going for that good old Stargate and everything, so he's going to eventually have Blink and stuff, but the Oracles were a pretty key part of his opening, being able to have a little bit of map control and everything. Now he doesn't have that, and Drogo is going to go for a move out. Now, this is kind of curious and interesting to me, because I guess Drogo does have an extra gateway and stuff, but he's also trying to get up his robo and a 3rd base and everything behind it. Is this almost like a little fake out push?
I think it can be real. Like, he can push the issue if he thinks that SKillous is going to try and also take a 3rd and maybe not warp in as much. But generally, I'd say that, like, you kind of expect to be at an even footing around now. And if anything, Drogo is just hoping to continue to delay the Nexus, force him to warp in cautiously, as opposed to trying to slap it down, because this just extends Drogo's lead. He's still up in workers. Now his Nexus is already 70% done. Drogo's found himself in a really good position. I mean, so many Adepts, right? But since SKillous didn't really have a real counterattack, it didn't matter. They all died.
Yeah, really, really nice play from Drogo so far. Even has the Photon Cannon up at the natural to help to deal with potential DTs or something along those lines running on in. Now, the 2 Adepts shading into the natural do go unnoticed, so they will be able to snag at least a handful of probe kills over here, going up to potentially 4 or 5, but eventually Drogo will be able to handle that and still maintains a slight worker lead, but most importantly, like you said, it's just the 3rd base timing is just so much faster.
Everything's faster for Drogo. He's going into charge already. His +1's faster. His Templar Archives is faster. He's going to get a Warp Prism faster. SKillous will eventually, not even because he's trying to attack, but just have something maybe to harass or micro with, and he has to wait. He has to wait. There's so many other things that he has to afford first. And, I mean, if Drogo just hits, maybe not this +1 attack, maybe he does actually, but a lot of the common PvP attacks are on +2. I don't see how SKillous is supposed to hold. Even with an overcharged shield battery, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do wonder if he's going to try and make some kind of move out, because I guess his Templar Archives and stuff also finished up, and he's going to have charge. But his big Gateway Flood is just now coming, so I guess, probably makes sense to wait a little bit. And he actually throws down the 4th base as well, so this is going to give SKillous a little bit of time also to try and figure out what his game plan is to try and bounce back in the situation. And, I mean, there's no Warp Prisms or anything right now, so there's not a crazy amount of harass potential outside of, like, charge lots or something. Oh, actually, sorry, Drogo does have the Warp Prism out now. He
does, yeah. I'm going to use that to maybe go for harassment first. And then meet up with the +2 attack that I was talking about. But, I think, Romanticide is the most promising map for a comeback in this matchup. And I wonder if Drogo's, even making sure that he doesn't get over eager, especially on this map. So slapping down the 4th first, going for +2 attack, that'll make sense to me. SKillous, I mean, I think it's not that surprising if he had tried diving towards Disruptors. I think that's what Drogo's been trying to scout. And if he's not going to disruptors, then it is just a numbers game. One that Drogo might be feeling very confident in. A couple of disruptors on the mix, that would have been a bit worrying, but they're not here. Char's even here. Drogo's going to go for it.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty tough fight over here for SKillous. We can see if he can find some shield battery defense or something. He has 3 shield batteries to fall back to. He's doing some nice Warp Prism micro, and also warping in Zealots on the other side over by his natural, try and come in from behind, but already losing a lot of workers, already losing quite a few units over here. But SKillous is starting to make some headway on this left-hand side, goes after the Warp Prism. He's going to be able to halt any reinforcing Warp-ins, but just the Zealots on the right-hand side, the natural zombie group, have done so much damage. They won the battle, and they went after all the probes in the meanwhile.
Right, 22 probes going down might make up for the fact that this didn't kill SKillous. Like maybe Drogo, well, it does actually. Ultimately, he taps out, which makes a lot of sense. But while his army was also getting destroyed, they were trading the armies. The economies were it was so bad for SKillous the entire game, and especially after losing 22. That of course SKillous taps out. Didn't want to try and play that game out when he was down at 50 supply. That makes sense. Again, I am still a little surprised that Drogo went prior to +2, just because it seemed like such an off timing, right? They both had equal upgrades. It was up the main ramp of Romanicide, which is supposed to be Skillous's best chance to actually hold. But I guess numbers didn't really lie there. He had a lot more, already doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think exactly to your point, the battle ended up becoming pretty close to the point where technically it kind of looked like SKillous was starting to mount a bit of a defense, especially with like the blink on the Warp Prism and everything. But I guess just the fact that Drogo was able to get all the way into the natural and stuff and then get in on top of all the workers during that fight, just because SKillous, he kind of took a little bit of a chance, I guess, where it's like, you see that this attack is coming, you have to do something, you have to choose where you're going to make your stand. So he throws down all the shield batteries over at the third base, and then Drogo just goes to the natural and is like, yeah, I mean, I had to do something, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder how much SKillous was also surprised that the move-in was so deliberate. You know, Drogo, when he decided to go for it, he didn't really hesitate, even though that is the map, as I was saying, that you would really respect your opponent's ability to defend. And kind of, he circumvented most of the shield batteries, most of the defense by doing that. There's also a pylon that got taken out in the natural. I don't think that would have been a big difference, but I did see that shield battery in the natural SKillous depowered, and I kind of felt for that a little bit. It was like, oh, maybe. Probably not.
Probably not, yeah. Well, that does give us a exciting tied 1-1 series now. So Drogo and SKillous going to be going at it in game number 3 on Jagannatha to determine who is going to be able to come out victorious on this. And remember, even if for some reason there's like already a situation where Drogo is eliminated, they are actually still playing every single one of these best of 3s for a bit of extra prize money. I think it's like what, hundreds, 250? Oh, 250.
125.
Wow. 125. Okay, yeah. $125 for every single series win. So pretty dope.
Yeah. For sure. So still very much worth putting in your all. And at this point, of course, Drogo is not even really paying attention to the math. He's just thinking about winning. Ditto for SKillous. In the bottom left of Jagannatha, we have the blue Protoss, Drogo.
And up in the top right-hand side of the map, we have our red Protoss player. He is SKillous. And I was talking about the map victories and everything and Drogo's chances, but SKillous also has been one of those players that at the beginning of the day, sitting in the 4th place spot, had a 7-7 map score, 2-3 series score. This is a pretty important match for him as well, because he was only just kind of barely above some of the other players like Strange and stuff for that 4th place spot. And Denver, frankly, was a little bit hard for him to catch up with. So that 4th place spot is getting a little bit contentious, I think.
It absolutely is. And I, again, have to go back to the Raynor series where, Raynor gets another point in the board. I'm not sure it changes very much. He gets another 2-0 on the board. Doesn't really change much. He's won. He's number 1.
Yeah.
But if he takes a loss, I think that messes up a lot of people's predicted outcomes. And then, Strange, who is facing him right now, might get bumped up more than anticipated. Because even as I speak, Strange Raynor, game 3, maxed out. Could go either way.
I loaded up the B stream to look at that. I'm like, yes, it is a maxed out Carrier versus Corruptor Viper army. I have seen this game before.
Yeah. Which, I don't know how he got the win previously, but Focusing on the game at hand, even though many of these results are important. PvP continues to be very cruel. SKillous misses the pylon block, and that kind of sealed his fate. Even if the Oracles had survived, up until the very last minute, I'm guessing at most they would have over 5 minutes gotten 10 probes, which is just not the same as the damage that Drogo did in the first 5 minutes of the game. So that's PvP being really cruel. And then any type of comeback mechanic you can think of as far as Dark Shrine or big all lanes or something like that, it's either too on the nose, like Drogo would have figured it out, or Romanticide would have played maybe into just a better defensive posture, which it's kind of supposed to do for SKillous, just not enough.
Yeah, always a little bit rough. I feel like unless your name is Max Pass, PvP will just always be that matchup. It's like even the best can falter in, some situations in those PvPs. But, well, we do have some more of those openings starting to shape on up, as we had double Stalker opening for both these players, but it is going to be the Adepts following up over here for SKillous, and it's not just 2, it's actually going up to 4.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if SKillous was hoping that Drogo would not go for, this particular scout. Although, I think the hallucination's not going to see what other units are coming out here. Oh, that's okay. So this maybe still works out for SKillous. I was going to say, you might have wanted to hide the Adepts. Oh, okay, it goes back. There we go. You might have wanted to hide the Adepts, predicting that Drogo either goes Stalker, like it did in the first game, or his own Adepts, which, would have really been kind of messy PvP. But Drogo kind of picks not only the option with the most scouting, but with a lot of defensive potential, especially if you figure things out. Then you just add shield batteries and you're probably good to go. And that seems to be a situation here for Drogo. Oh, no!
Oh,
no! What was it?
Oh, my God.
Well, I don't even know. Was it a bait? Am I like... Wait.
Maybe? Okay. A few of the Adepts are going to be able to still make it in forward, I think. Like, 2 more will make it in. They can start target firing down some probes. He's got 3 Adepts in there, and there's no shield battery, so even the single Adept was able to get some damage done. 7 workers, 8 workers. It's not bad, I guess.
Oh, this is serious revenge. I don't know, if SKillous was hoping for some revenge, he got it, man. Now he's up 7 workers. And okay, well, here is a big difference between the last game and this game, right? Not only does SKillous start with 2 different units, but most importantly, Drogo already had a Robo, so he can initiate a true counterattack. Whereas last game, there was a couple of Oracles. Although on a counterattack, those are harassment. This from Drogo is an attack. SKillous might be regretting using all of his Adepts to do that.
Warp Prism makes a massive difference in how fast you can reinforce over here. Some force fields are thrown down to try and go after one of the Adepts over here, but it's the Stalkers that really are going to pack a punch. As the shield battery gets taken out, the force fields come in from Drogo's side, trapping in a bunch of these units, sniping off one of the sentries, and also going to be able to get some good chip damage on the Stalkers. I almost wonder at what point SKillous might just need to pull probes or something to help out, because he really is going to need faster reinforcements, but I just don't think that they're coming.
This is so scrappy. They're doing a pretty good job of both microing using force field and focus fire, but it looks like at the end of the day, Drogo's going to come in here with just more units. The Adepts as well, doing a great job either tanking or distracting, right? Going for the probes, going for the sentries. Drogo manages to get some revenge there. It doesn't quite make up for it, though. Those Adepts, I thought they were going to be capable of grabbing a few more probes. Maybe that's still what Drogo's thinking as he loads up more. That they didn't quite grab enough. Not yet.
I have to say, well, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but SKillous letting the shield battery finish up on the high ground was clutch in having that shield battery heal up. But now we see, oh man, this is so awkward. The force field keeping out a bunch of SKillous' units from defending the natural, while the Warp Prism is going to head over to the main base. The recall gets forced out though, because there's just not enough there from Drogo. So Drogo ends up losing another Stalker or 2 over there, doesn't get anything done with the Warp Prism either, and he loses it.
Yeah, exactly. He just lost everything. That was, probably the worst way that could have gone. I really don't want to be too critical. That just sucks for Drogo, though. Like, everything went wrong, and he was supposed to have a decent opportunity, but I think once he saw, it's basically because he saw an opportunity, he put too much into it, and then wasn't actually able to control it, so, oh no. This game is weird. It is weird. Drogo is not that far behind that he just taps out from it, right? But he is behind. He had so much more potential when the Warp Prism was alive.
Yeah, to put this in context, guys, Drogo is now going to be facing off against a kind of somewhat potentially overwhelming number of Blink Stalkers. Now, he does have 2 Immortals and 2 shield batteries already finished up over here. That's going to help out a lot, but the micro ability of these Stalkers is going to allow SKillous to continue to pick away and just prevent a 3rd base from going down for a really long time. That alone is going to allow SKillous to secure a really nice lead, but even besides that, SKillous is also getting up all the upgrades like Charge, getting up more gateways and stuff. That's going to put him in a very comfortable spot.
It looks like Drogo is just going to try and 2-base all in and try and make this work, which Skillous should be able to pick up on. You should be able to see that neither Nexus is being taken, maybe get a hallucination into the main, see what's going on. Yeah, this, I don't think it's going to work, because Skillous is basically going to match him in almost all accounts. So he's going to have, he already has his +1, he's going to have similar time charge, all of his gateways are going to finish up at a similar time. The only thing that Drogo has over his opponent is 2 Immortals, which, you know, they kind of get less and less effective the more that charge lots get involved.
Okay, this gets a little bit weird, because SKillous had a bit of high ground vision, but the Phoenix moved a bit too far forward, so only got some of his Stalkers in, but the charge slots are actually a little bit scary here. Now we're going to see the 5 Stalker hit squad snipe off a probe, get recalled out, doesn't take any losses, and actually drew back a few of Drogo's forces, so he bought himself a few extra seconds. Those few extra seconds are enough for charge and the Archons to finish. That's all that SKillous really needed.
Drogo does have a slight army supply lead, but one that is absolutely made up for with shield batteries and shield battery overcharge, which Skillous, you know, he has. Drogo just knows that this is probably the only thing that could work in this game. Yeah. Oh, the Warp Prism gets taken down, and that just might be the nail in the coffin right at the get-go. This doesn't even really get to begin.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. We see the Immortals getting just completely surrounded and picked off. GG gets called. Skillous throws up his hands in the air like he just doesn't care.